So our next speakers are a whānau from Waikato, and even though I live in Waikato, I had to come to Dunedin to meet them. Lots of us dream of having intergenerational living. I dream of it, and I'm always trying to steal my mokopuna so I can do it. So this whānau are sharing their kōrero about how they live and breathe intergenerational papakainga, bring it through to their workplace. The collectiveness of this whānau are so inspirational. So I want to welcome them up to speak, and to get us some exercise, sitting, tap your feet. This is going to be our homai te paki yoga.
Putahitanga, o te wai painangu. O te mea hoki tā koutou te tono, kia māua kia haere mai, te whakautu rā kia koutou. Te taonga ki te whakautu rā kia koutou i te wahake nei, no reire mihi nui rawa kia koutou. Kore rawe ware te honore nui rā tēnei kia māua tapu. Arera kia mōhia pai, ko wai wā ēnei, ko hone tērna taku iwa, ko teri tērna te iko taku hawahi nei tūpai tina. No māua, me ki pēa, WHAKAPAPA, o Ngāti Amaru, ko mani o poto, a māua, hapu. Te o mārahi a māua marae, te o mārahi me tūranga māwai, a marae. Ko taupiri tō māua maunga, o Waikato, o mātau awai te rea whira. He piko he taniwha, Waikato taniwhara. O reire rauranga tira mā, o māua geni ngā taniwha e tūrake nei, i mui a koutou tō reira. E ngā mātau waka, pānui kia mērana kia māua. Pēnā koutou, a tuka te tarākau ki taku hoa. Kia ora tātou.
Kia ora tātou. Mōrena. E tūtau toko ana ngā mihi a taku hoa rangatira. Kia koutou katoa. Tēnā koutou. I just wanted to start off with these two brilliant rangatahi that preceded us. Isn't our future in good hands? Kia ora tātou. I'm a little bit nervous. I do this often enough, but I still get nervous. So I'd like to start off with our pepeha that we have as a whānau. This is a pepeha that we carry quite often. Throughout everything we do, probably. Me he mea ka moi ahau, ka moi ahau anaki. If I dream alone. Me he mea ka moi a tātou, ka tae. If we dream, we will get there. And I think this illustrates what whānau ora is about to me. As long as we can achieve to dream together, if you put whānau together and get them together to dream together, everything is possible. So this tupuna who did this, I wanted to start with her because Waimirirangi gave you quite a bit of history from where we were coming from. So, Princess Tupuia. Waimirirangi was right, that was this is her grandfather that she was talking about, Tā Kingi Tāwhiao, the second king. So in his time, we got confiscated 1 million plus acres of land. His granddaughter came back into Ngaruawahia hearing that they were selling, because the militia took over Ngaruawahia, moved every Māori out and set up Ngaruawahia as the militia town. It was going to become their parliament or their government place at one stage, very early in the piece. By the time his mokopuna grew, and that was Princess Tupuia, she heard that they were going to sell the rubbish dump. What she knew about that rubbish dump was the whakatauki of her grandfather. Ko Anare Kahanara Tuku Haunakaha. Alexandra, which is the name that was given by the colonialisers, Alexander is my tower of strength. Its Māori name was Pirongia. Kemureti is my oko, ko Kemureti taku oko horai. Kemureti, Cambridge, is my bowl of sorrow. Ko Ngārua Wāhia taku tūranga wāwai. Ngārua Wāhia is my place to stand. As a princess, young, coming with the epidemics, so relevant with what we're talking about today, COVID hitting us, she went through epidemics in the Waikato, 3 that affected our people in her time. So she proceeded to get that land back from the constabulary that was selling it off or getting rid of it, and she established the marae of Tūranga Wāwai. Don't know how many of you have been there, but it's the marae o te motu. It's the marae o te iwi o Tāwahi, the international people as well. That's why we said, but more importantly, it's the home of Putahitanga. Sorry, I'm a little bit heavy breathing. So whakapapa, as we know, and I hear it through all of the presenters that we've had through this few days, terribly important, really, really important. And for us, it happened, and we knew how to pull on these whakapapa strengths when Pone got sick. He had a heart problem in 2010. 2012, I ended up with cancer. So our journey into using whānau ora as the vehicle to take us forward kind of happened really by accident, māwiwi. We pulled our children together. We had 8, as you see, we have had 8 children. And with them, we got them together to talk about who out of you will take our whare on and then make sure the front door is always open to any of the whānau that were coming, needed help in the future. Which one of you could put your hand up and do that? That was our call. So when we called the wānanga, the meeting, we pulled them all back together and we wanted the mokos and the children. And that's right, whakapapa is whānau. Every member was included in our kōrero. So our kaupapa ended up being about whānau and about, really, that's all we wanted. They thought of it slightly different. So this photo is from the eldest on the, I don't know, the left, is it? Yeah. To the youngest, and our son is the pōtiki. So we've got 7 girls, and our son is our pōtiki. So we had to rely on the leadership skills of our children that we had. So our eldest daughter lived in Gisborne, the second eldest lived in Pukekohe, so we pulled her in and said, well, ko koe te kaora nei te mō tātou. You be the head and you're going to lead this. I want you to lead it because me and Dad might be here in the next 6 months. And so from that leadership, she took us as a family through all of those things that is talked about on here. We're a very strong whānau with Putahitanga. We're at the marae every day. One of my girls run the kitchen now. So those kinds of values we had, the cultural side, very strong. It was the other side that we needed to get in touch with, the Pākehā side, and how do we do things to navigate our space through. So what Rangita ended up doing was she said out of the 8, the 2 youngest had their own homes. Out of the rest, she says, right, what's your rent? So she wrote it all up on the board. Look at that number. What can we do about that number? And that switched their whole focus. And so it is about leadership, taking leadership and relying on the individual as leaders. My mokopuna ended up being leaders in their own right in the discussion, but we had a series of 5 wānanga to get us through this whole thing. Rangita was doing her social services degree. She was in the time that we started, she was in her 2nd year, and so she came home with all these flash frameworks, they're called. And at the time I was looking at them thinking, oh God, I don't know what this kid is on about, but zip up, shut up, Tilly, just watch. And it's funny because through it all, as we worked through, the priorities that we came out of, even we talked about everything. And what our whānau who introduced us to whānau ora, which was Taranga Birwa whānau, Poppy was her name, my friend Poppy, she came and she said, if you had $1 million, how would you spend that to make your whānau ora? And so that was the catchphrase for my whānau at the time. We've got $1 million, what can we do? And that's how this whole thing came to being. So it wasn't looking at deficit. What we were looking at is, what have we got now, and how can we better that? So our priorities became, first was the trust, because TPK required us to be a trust, which was still great. We've learnt heaps in that time. Then our second priority was to build a house, the papakainga. And our third priority was to have a muscle-free business. Our market started in Ngarawaihe at the time, and then quite a few of my friends were doing markets, so I said to Hone, what can we do? Then we can make a bit of money and get our kids to come home once a year to have a kōrero, because they live all over the place. 2 in Australia, 1 in Gisborne, and the rest were closer to home. So we started a little muscle-free business because, in my head was, we get fresh mussels from Coromandel every day. And that was my product, wanted it fresh. So these were the things that we had. And this other theory, again, Rangita looked at how do we expand that, not just from our family, what happens once you get to the triangle one, this one here steps you out into where you work in your community. How our young ones work in the community, how our mokopunas use things in their community. At the time, none of us were together. What would be if we could have all of this stuff in one space? So those were all the things that we discussed, the priorities that came out of it. But this, once we knew what our 3 priorities were, we were working on this for after we had the house. So governance, done. Housing, done. Health, him and I haven't been fitter in our life because we were the priority. Education, the kids, my mokopunas are doing so well at school, I can't even believe it. Every weekend, our house, this big house of ours, is full of mokopuna, those who don't live there. Parents say, no, you can't go, and they sort of use the card as a bit of a, you behave all week, otherwise you're not going to Nan's on the weekend, or not going to the big house is what they call it. So our culture, our values, tikanga, our mokopuna go to kura kaupapa Māori. Hone works for the tribe as the kaumātua. I do the claims area with our tribe. I do all sorts of stuff, but I love just being around the iwi. And of course our businesses and our employment. So we did have our ups and downs in our meetings. Again, Rangita used her frameworks to actually navigate us through those spaces. And I think when you've got somebody who's got a clear vision about what the frameworks are, it keeps you on track. Because if you haven't got frameworks, sometimes you tend to get caught up in what the argument was over here, or what the kōrero was about that somebody disagreed with. So I found the frameworks to be really, really, really valuable. If you need, if you need any help as to how we use them, just come and have a yarn. But it did. She married the two together so that the Taina Pōhatu's framework is absolutely wonderful. And I'm telling you right now, at this moment, we're in the Māori order space. We really are. Why do I say that? The house is done. The business is working okay, but my mokopuna, the mokopuna is the thing that's really, that Māori order space goes into the next generation. My 21-year-old, she is now 22, but last year when the tribe did a housing project in Hamilton, she was the first one to own one of those homes. And she didn't rely on us to help her with the deposit. Her and her tāne had saved up and they went to the bank and managed to get their loan from the bank because they had a good history, and they were the first couple to go into this housing project that, oh gosh, it's just, I'm a little bit overwhelmed at the moment, but yeah, it was it's a project that Tainui used that had all sorts of different models in the one space. So housing for kaumātua, young families, 3 and 4 bedroom home, 4 bedroom for the middle families with a few more children. So that mokopuna of mine now, she's actually expecting her first baby. It's a little bit of a oops moment, I think, because it wasn't planned, but she's come to terms with it, that life is going to be life, and that's the way her journey's going to take it. And the other another mokopuna that I had, he's got a Pākehā girlfriend, and Katie bought into a health beauty thing, some franchise from Australia. Well, it's booming in Tauranga. So they're doing very, very well. He's the scaffolder that does all the work on that used to help her get herself on her feet, but now the scales tipped, she's starting to earn more than he is, but they're planning to buy their home in Papamoa. So Māori order is the space that I know that you get to really quickly in this model. You do it all together. So, our 3 priorities. So we did the trust. We did the trust in 2015, that's good. Going, and that's the big house, what we call the big house. It looks like that's the plan of it, but it still looks exactly pretty much like that. So it's, when we were planning, we had the builder come in and we asked him, how many houses can we get on this piece of land? That's the only thing that I know, because Waikato's got no land. So when we bought the house, that's our little piece of Waikato heaven, you know. So I said to him, how many homes can we actually get on here? And he goes, you'll get one 3-bedroom home, 4-bedroom home, and the other 2, 3, maybe 3 smaller ones. I go, that's not going to work with 8 kids. So the kids will say to me, well, Mum, try for one big house. So their theory in this whole thing wasn't to come straight in and all live. They were going to use this house so they could save money to buy their own children's home. And then they go out, build their children up one home, or whatever their plan is for their children. Build that, and then move back to here all together when they're our age and in retirement. The next phase that goes on was, after they were ready to move out, the ones who go into the house in the future are going to sit on the paipai at Tūranga Wāwai, because that's the closest marae. That's your ticket in, if you see. The other half, because the house right in the middle is the section where there's kitchen, lounge, all that sort of thing. Both ends got the rooms. So one half was going to be used for, this is their planning. I think it's brilliant. This is their planning. One half of their house is going to be for them, whoever's going up to the paipai at Tūranga Wāwai, and the other half is for any students that are having to live in and going to Waikato or Polytech. So it was for that, that's the way they see that this house will work for them in the generations to come. So as you can see, we've got about 20, 30 years that our mokopuna and children are well catered to. So our third priority, so I forgot to show you, the tent that we had in that other picture was what we used to look like. So we decided that one of the things with the business is that it was going really well. We've got a good name in Waikato. We do the WHAKAPAPA, this is our 4th year in WHAKAPAPA, so the tent was at WHAKAPAPA. So we decided to buy, we thought we were buying 1 caravan, but they decided, no, we're doing 2. You know, we're going to have 1 for the markets in Ngaruahiman, and the other one is going to go out on events, like WHAKAPAPA, like Matatini, well, that's the wish. You know, all of those bigger events that we can take that, because the bigger one has a chiller in it. The little one is smaller, it just serves 1 window and it's got no chiller or anything. That's just our Saturday market. But we took our product in 2007 to Massey University to see what the shelf life could be. And we got it into 6 months plus, which is the label to get you so that you can actually put it into supermarkets and whatnot. We wanted it to be like a social enterprise. It's got a bit of work to do. We're going to pay for those things now, and that might take another couple of years. The goal after that is to get a shucking machine, and that machine will help us shuck, because every Friday, depending on what the kaupapa is for the wagons, we shell from 1 bag, sack of mussels on a Friday afternoon, to 3 as a minimum, sometimes to 10. So the whole family are expected to come in and we shuck mussels for that time. Then we have a break and go again, have a break. But it just to suit the market that we have to do. And of course the franchising, one of the things that I want, and I don't know whether they've agreed to, is when we get a franchise up, it goes to people building papakaina. So this is really all it's about. I just want to, for doing the planning that we've done, and I know all of you are whānau order navigators, and I know I'm betting the majority of you have been to whānau who say this is one of their goals, is to have a home. So I want to challenge any of those that are in the mix of the leadership at the moment in this whānau order space. Try and get the Housing Commission to marry with you somehow, so that you've got that capability there. If a whānau knows exactly what they want and how they want to do it, have that arm ready to navigate, so that those people are pushed through it kind of in a special stream. Because I've heard it this morning from the Trevor who got presented. It's so simple, it's not even funny. Simplify it in that way, then you've got all your bases covered. So pretty much that's all. This is what our presentation is about. Anybody got any questions? Anyway, if there's no questions, don't forget, if you're ever up in the Waikato, if you come into Ngaruahia, look for us. Come and have a look what it's like. People get the essence of what it's like to sit in. I tell you, we've never been healthier. I'm telling you that this is the way of the future. If we can go back to what our kaumātua, our tupuna used to do, to live collectively, it's going to economically, financially, everything lead is the benefits. Kia ora tātou katoa.
Te kia ora rā tātou, e no kia mutu pai ai, e tika anō hoki mai te tīmata tanga o tō tātou. Whakātu rā kia koutou, e no e honore nui rā tēni kia māua, ko ki te rā koutou. Engari o tahi noho rā tāku ni pānui atu kia koutou. Kia tātou katono, whānau ora, kia tahata tiaki i ngā tātou whānau, e pai ngā motea, kia pai te ora ngā tātou tamure ki moka puna ki te whai aki. Nā reira, huri no i tō tātou kore, tēnā koutou, kia ora mai rā tātou katoa.
I waho ahau, ka hoki mai ki te tumu o tainui. He komera e te iwi e, doho i hora.
Ki runga i te taumata e.
Oh, Waikato! Waikato te oaki, he piko he taniwha.
He
Pau whenua he pau tangata, e o e te iwi e. Kia ora.
Aurega, tēnā koe.
So this morning we talked about how easy whānau order is, and I really thank you for the gift of sharing with us to show us actually how easy it is. We just need to do it. One of our GPL members this morning said there's so much for us to do, but if we all take one bite of the elephant, it'll be gone. Actually, one bite of the fritter, it will be gone. You know what? I work in iwi housing, and I have done for the last 15 years, and I also work in housing research. And there's so much. It is an elephant. It is hard to move forward. Housing, and the fact that your whānau got together this is how much value we have, is an inspiration, because we often think we're just doing it by ourselves. But if we all eat the fritter together, as a whānau, this is the way forward. So I really want to thank you. Kia ora.